All right, audio's live, camera's live. All right, are we ready? Call this meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance, we'll start Pledge of Allegiance led by Trustee Davis.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Lynn. All right. We'll start off with good news. Mr. Hilderly?
Yeah, we actually have a couple of good news items. One is on your agenda. The other one, we have some outstanding athletes from our spring sports. I'll let Mr. Zajac talk about that a little bit later, but let's start with how the DC field trip went.
I know we had a presentation on that. Where'd it go? How did I lose that?
It's in our board notes.
Yeah, I know, I saw it, but I looked at it today, but I don't see it now.
Hi there, my name is Katie Carthew. I'm an 8th grade teacher and had the opportunity to kind of coordinate this trip. So thank you for approving that for us earlier this year. I brought with me a couple of our students that went on the trip. This is Tucker Cole, Lily Ganaki, and Chloe Bollinger. It was a super successful trip. We took 130 students and 30 adults. It was a jam-packed 3-day trip. So our kiddos here just wanted to share a couple of their favorite memories with you. And then I will give you some brief highlights. Do you want to go first?
I think I have to say my favorite memory was the World War II memorial that we went to. It was a big fountain that had a ton of pillars around it that had each of the states' names that fought in the war. And it was really cool because we saw it at sunset, and it was right in between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. And it was just really cool because you got to like dip your feet in the water, and I don't know, it was just like we could throw coins in it to make wishes, and I don't know, I think it was just a really cool memory that like I wouldn't get to experience any other time in my life.
So, sorry, how about name? Your name?
My name's Tucker Cole.
Tucker?
Yes.
Tucker, were there any veterans there when you visited that memorial?
Not that we saw there, but I know at the United States Army Museum that we went to, there was veterans there that we got to meet. That was really cool too.
Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Lily Ganaki, and I had the opportunity of laying a wreath at the Unknown Soldier's Tomb, and that was by far one of my favorite opportunities, and I feel that it was a life experience that I will forever carry with me. So it was by far one of my favorite things of the DC trip. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Chloe Bollinger, and my favorite thing was when we went on the Gettysburg battlefield and we got to see some like old statues, and we went up on this what was that tall thing? The lookout, and it was really tall, but it was really fun, and we took a lot of pictures from it.
Awesome.
So in the presentation that was shared with you, you'll get like a brief synopsis. We spent the first day at Gettysburg, and it was really, really cool to have the kids kind of experience what they wrapped up 8th grade history learning about. The second day, we started at Arlington National Cemetery, and actually Lily and Chloe both participated in the wreath laying ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It was a super powerful experience, and in the pictures, you'll see the beautiful Tecumseh wreath that we had. It had our school colors in it. It was awesome. And then we ended kind of that day going through the monuments, like Tucker said, and it was so cool to kind of see our students get to experience something like this because it's been a long time since we've been able to travel. And then we wrapped up the trip visiting the 2 Smithsonian museums, the Natural History and the American History Museum, and ended our trip at Smoky Glen, which is often a highlight for our students because it's kind of like a hang out and celebrate the end of this experience. We had a really, really good time. We had a great group of parents that went with us. It was fantastic. So thank you again for approving that trip for us. We're really glad that we got to bring it back.
Thank you for
Thank
pulling
you
it
so
together.
much.
Yeah, thanks for organizing it.
Yeah.
It sounds like really memorable for sure.
It was a really neat experience, especially for our students with COVID having kind of blocked things for a long time, really getting the kids out to experience not only the history part of it, but the experience of traveling. It was a really, really cool learning opportunity.
How did you enjoy the long bus trip there and back?
They were troopers.
Yeah.
No sleeping?
So on the way there,
Okay.
on the way back, I told myself I wouldn't.
For leaving at 4 a.m., they were having a good time. They were excited and ready to explore. Do you have any questions for us?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Mr. Zajac has a full report on the spring sports later on, but right now he has some special athletes that he wants to introduce.
We do. We have 3 student athletes here. Why don't you guys come up here, Jordan, Kevin,
You might need
AJ.
a taller thing.
To speak out.
Let's say the best class instead of AJ and Gavin up here. So this is Gavin Chenevier. Gavin broke the record for the 200 meter with 21.96, and he's also part of the group that broke 2 school records, a 4x1 and 4x2. This is AJ Bryan. He's a sophomore. Gavin's a junior. He was in a group that broke the 4x2 and 4x1 as well. So these guys' names are going to go up on a track board outside when you walk through the football tunnel. They were part of that group, so they did a great job. And this scrub behind me, Jordan Wright, she just won the school record and won a state championship for the pole vault, and she almost broke the state record. That's her goal for next year, right? She's going to
How close?
smash it, I think, next year.
How close to the state record?
Well, I got 12, and then I went for 12.8, which the record is 12.7, but I didn't get it. Yet.
Yeah.
And what was the previous school record?
11, whatever you had.
Oh, it was hers? Oh,
The last one was 11.
She broke her own record.
She kept breaking it this year. So what was the
Good for you.
11.9 was one. She broke her own record.
And then, so 11.9, then you went 12 at the state meet? Wow. Impressive.
Gavin, this is your first year in track. What were you doing your freshman and sophomore year?
I was playing bad.
I'm just teasing.
That's
We'd like
awesome.
to shake their hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
congratulations.
Thank you, John, for doing that.
Gonna go off the track next year. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Great job.
That's awesome. Love it.
Congratulations. What grade are you in? Oh, dang, I won't get to see breaking more records now. Congratulations.
She's a senior.
Oh, she's senior.
Rising senior.
Oh, okay, so I do get to see her.
She
break
is
more
one.
records.
That's past that.
I
That's
gotta
the
go
new
see her.
school.
Yeah, we're past. We're seniors now.
All right.
Okay, that concludes good news for us this week.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda, we have public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone here who wants to give a public comment on agenda items? Nope. All right. Next, we'll move on to board agenda revisions to the agenda. I know of 2. Actually, I found one since I spoke with you earlier, Veronica. First is, and I don't know, does everybody have a copy of this? We have some overnight trips that have been requested, and we need to act on those. So will be a discussion and an action item for those. I don't know. I don't, is this just one copy, or they? Was one for everybody?
It's a packet of all the trips.
So here. Well, I guess I
Thank
better
you.
keep one.
We'll share.
Um, The second thing, so we'll here eventually we'll need a motion to include a overnight trip. If there's any discussion, and then we'll need to act on those. So,
I so move that we add that on to discussion.
well, can we do them all at once?
All at once?
Yeah. The second thing I noticed is that in the action items, we have policy procedures, and we had decided at the last meeting, we weren't going to act on that until the 27th. So we want to strike that, to give everyone time to review those. So those are the 2 that I have.
So can you rephrase that again?
Our second item is to strike the policies and procedures item from the tonight's action items. Okay, Does
Why
any,
weren't they weren't under discussion either. They
we
probably should've-
discussed it last meeting, and we had decided at the last meeting to give the board time to review them. We'd go 2 meetings before we acted on them. So
And
we
then-
did discuss them last time.
Then we also have somebody ask for the admin policies, just so we can look them over.
And we've got those. I don't know, is there, do
I
we
don't think
need?
they were ever sent.
Yeah, they were, oh, the admin policies?
The admin, administrative.
Yeah, just not that we have
guidelines.
to approve them, but I just would, I mean,
No,
I think we
the-
should look
that
them
was-
over.
That wasn't the,
That was admin contract that you wanted to see.
yes.
Oh, I thought it was policies.
No, it was.
I would like to see the admin policies.
Is that available on the drive?
I don't think that that's been.
All right,
shared
so
with
that's
us
a
yet.
separate request outside of any action items.
And have you updated that one? You know, like, did they have suggestions?
We
like,
have
when-
not dug
Okay.
into sorting through those yet.
Okay.
no.
So we have those two. We have to add overnight travel request approvals and striking the policies and procedures. Does anybody else have anything that they want to add?
Just point of clarification.
Yep.
Do you want 2 motions on the overnight trips, one to add to discussion, and then one to suspend
Can-
rules at
Do we
vote?
need 2 motions or can we do it all in one?
We need to suspend.
We can, I mean, I guess you can voice it in one
I can
motion.
put it all in one motion.
Okay, mention the words
I think I
suspend
got
the
it.
rules and vote on it tonight, so.
So hopefully this is correct. I so move that we suspend our rules to look at discussion and action for the overnight trips. And then we also look at striking the policy procedure on tonight's action agenda.
Second.
Is that any clarification on that? It's been moved and seconded to make additions, adding overnight travel to discussion and the action items, and to strike the policies, procedures vote for tonight's meeting and move that to the next meeting. Roll call vote, trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So we are adding those to agenda. Now, what I'll need a motion to approve the agenda as revised.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and seconded to support the agenda as revised. Roll call vote, trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Brooks.
Aye.
New agenda is approved. Thank you, everyone. Schedule reports. Mr. Hilderly, you want to make introductions?
Yes, Mr. Zajac back to the podium to talk about the success of all of our spring athletes.
You want to sign this or not?
Have we got a presentation?
It was included in the board, yes, it was included in the
The
board
list of
package.
names.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have
we
a
got it.
PowerPoint,
If
right?
you've got the
I do. I
PowerPoint,
see the
then we
slideshow
don't need
too.
to project.
I think it's nice for the public if you want to show.
Yeah, we should do that.
Okay. So this is our spring sports summer. We do one for the fall, winter, and spring. A lot of stuff's not complete yet because a lot of the state associations don't do the all-state or the all-regional. A lot of the county teams aren't out yet too. So we should get more kids added to this and more awards added to it. But right now what we have 53 all SEC, all county, and other award winners. We have 3 Coach of the Year awards, 243 THS student athletes in our spring sport, 72 TMS middle school student athletes participated in track only. That's the only thing that we offer right now is track at the middle school. We have 10 spring sport offerings at the high school. Our spring student athlete GPA was a 3.45. We had 2 SEC and 1 regional championship. We had 5 school records broken. We had sent several athletes to the state finals, and then Jordan Wright, who you just met, was our state champ in the pole vault. Any questions on that one real fast?
3.45 is up from what
It
your
is.
sport
It was a
significantly.
3.3, I think. Yes. So it was 3.45. Yep. So we're pretty. It's pretty awesome to have that. We did not compare them, so I did not do the regular GPA this year, just because for this season, just
Okay.
nice to showcase those kids. Our girls lacrosse, it's a new coach, Kate Howard. Ironically, they did not win a game, right? They were 0-13, 0-6, but our conference voted her the coach of the year. They were impressed how she handled the kids, how she coached, the way the kids acted. So I think it speaks a lot on her behalf of being voted the coach of the year, not winning a game. She had a lot of close games, a lot of young kids on the team, obviously. So, I think it speaks really well of our league and our coach to vote her a coach of the year for not winning a game. Girls soccer, they had a pretty good season. They were back and forth between first and second the whole season. They tied the top 3 teams in our conference, and just a couple goals here, a couple of things didn't go our way. So they had a really competitive year too, and they're very young as well. So looking forward to them for next year. Boys golf, second place in the SEC. They won a lot of invites, a lot of first place finishes. So, and again, they're real young. Mr. Simpson's son plays on the team. He had a great year. Joe Nowak was first team All SEC. He's coming back. So we didn't lose any seniors from this team. So it should be exciting next couple years as well. Boys lacrosse, this team had a great year. They lost 22 seniors off last year's team. So this year was really, really a young team, a non-experienced team. But they battled. They lost in the regional finals to Hazlitt, who was ranked number 4 in the state. So they had a great season. We actually had that game here. They beat Dearborn Divine Child 8-9 or 9-8, and their coach was pretty upset after the game. He came up to me and said, "How much did you pay those refs? We must have paid them something." So he was not very happy that we beat them. So they had a pretty good year. Bogey Trout, one of our former alumni, is our coach now. So he's a young coach doing a great job with these kids. Softball team, another young coach, Tiffany Bryan. AJ Bryan was just up here. It's his sister. She's a former alumni. Played softball at Concordia. She did a great job with these kids too, at 13-5, 23-13 overall. And most of these kids are young. Bella's a sophomore, Natalie's a junior, Allison's a sophomore. So all these kids we have a really young group, good young group coming up. So we're excited for the softball as well. Girls tennis, 7-1 record. They, tennis is a new sport for us. Miss Rodine talked about this all the time. We can't practice. We can't really practice or hold matches here because our courts are so bad. So it's kind of hard for our kids to really get into tennis here. But Carrie Schmidt did a great job building this program up. And now Jen Morgan, who our coach now, is continuing that process. So hopefully get tennis going here. Baseball, again, Mr. Bullinger did an awesome job. Coming in the season, there was not many high expectations, losing, again, I think 8 or 9 seniors off last year's district team. They were 13-1 in the league in 2010 overall, and they lost in the districts 4-3 or 3-2, I think. So very competitive, very young team again. Their best player, arguably Seth Austin, was out the whole year with a torn labrum, so he didn't get to play at all, and they still won the league. So great credit to the coaching staff and the kids, and for that, Mr. Bullinger was the coach of the year in SEC as well. Boys track and field, they had a great year. As you can see, the kids that set school records. Gavin set the school record. They had 2 relay teams set school records. They had a really, really good season. The SEC is very tough in track, so finishing 4th in that is kind of deceiving. You don't think it's that good of a finish, but when you look at Chelsea and Pinckney and Jackson and Age and some other teams, there's some really good teams. So they had a really good season as well. And then our girls track and field, they had an awesome season. They were first place in the SEC. I think it was the first time forever that they were in the SEC. I put the records up today on our boards, and there was not one up there for the league championship. So first time SEC. They did win a regional championship a couple years ago. So they're regional champs, SEC champs. A ton of kids got honored, ton of state qualifiers. Jordan was all state, Chesney was all state, and Lauren Simpson was all state. And the other record that we had was Chesney Wilkie. She was 800 meters. She broke it at 2 minutes, 16 seconds. She was not here today. But a lot of those kids are coming back. I think we only lose 1 kid from this group of kids, Gabby Stinzy. She was the only senior in this group. So we should have a really good year next year for our girls track and field. These are all our college-bound student athletes. It's a smaller group than usual just because that class is so small. This is an unusually small class for us. But these kids are great student athletes. They're going to continue their education and athletics at these universities and colleges, and we're super excited to have those kids do that. Did a great, fantastic job for their program and for our school. Our coaches of the year, these are the coaches of the year so far. Like I said, it's probably we could add more to it with the county and other coaches. So Wendy Knapp was girls cross country. This is overall for the whole season. Jameis Webster, boys basketball. Chrissy Zajac, girls basketball. Eric Wigner, boys bowling. Ken Richards, girls bowling. Tom Bullinger, baseball. Kate Harden, girls lacrosse. And Wes Harden for girls track and field. So overall for this year, this is our overall summary. We offered 29 sports to students this year. We had 599 high school students participate in a sport at THS. I think our student enrollment is 719. So we have 599 kids participate out of 719. That's pretty.
So it's 599 different children.
It's just 599 participants. So they could be 2 sport kids.
Okay, so that counts.
So we did correct. So it can count as 2. So it's not 599 kids. I wish that was that'd be
Okay,
great.
better yet.
But I mean, that's still a lot of kids participating. At the middle school, we had 360 total. We had 129 all SEC, all county, or other awards this year. We had 5 SEC, 1 district, and 4 regional team championships, and 2 state runner-ups, 8 coach of the year, and 3 academic all-state teams. And I think we'll get a couple more of those just because they're not complete yet.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please share this with Victor Pratt, our communications
I will, yes.
person?
Yep,
Because
absolutely.
this is really impressive.
Absolutely will. This is our fundraising page. I think that's in your packet as well. It's updated as of today.
I don't think that was in the packet, was it?
No? Okay.
Can you get that to us?
I'll give it to,
I added it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
On our drive.
yeah, because a lot of stuff, when I sent it to Veronica last week, we were still updating stuff, getting stuff in. So this is just updated more. But same thing we had before, except we just added some more. From the last time you guys had it in the wintertime, just some more we added to it. Any questions on that? And this is just our list of kids that were all something in the spring. So this will go up on our gym board, just showcasing what our kids have done, whether they're SC honorable mention or all district or all county, first team all state. We just want some more to showcase our kids and what they did. So this will be up on our
So it's
board.
just a spring sport.
These are just our spring, yeah. So
How
we,
many children?
so I think there was 53. Is that what I said?
You did.
So 53, 129 overall total for fall, winter, and spring.
Lucy Whelan spelled
Isn't Chesney Wilkie, hasn't she been all league, all, 4-letter winner,
Chesney's
right?
been all league and everything
She
she does.
she was a state qualifier for cross country, right?
Correct.
All league
And basketball,
and basketball.
all league in soccer, all district in
And
soccer, all county in
Third in
soccer.
the state in track, so she
Well,
does
she set a school record, yeah, and yeah. So she's
2 sports
she's,
in one season. too.
she's an okay athlete,
And I would like to say academically, I think she's.
and
probably
she's an
really
academic
high.
all-state
Oh,
kid.
they
Yeah,
got more
she's,
since Chris Hoy.
she's a total package. Miss Tommy. And she's a great kid too.
She played
She's
she played 2 sports in spring, and she was all something in both of them.
Yes.
Broke school record.
yes,
She's on track, if she stays healthy, to be a 16-letter winner.
Wow.
yeah.
And that's pretty rare in the state of Michigan.
And she had cross country practice today, and she had 2 basketball games today too. That's probably why she's not here. She's probably taking a nap. But yeah, she's a something else. Yeah, she's a great kid. You guys have any questions for me on any of the stuff I presented, talked about?
I have a question about something else. So one of the, sorry to be a downer.
Oh, it's all right.
One of the complaints from parents is the app to get into sports events.
The GoFan app.
Yeah,
Yep.
and the fee, do we know,
So
is there
this
a way
is
to maybe advertise more to get the pass or to?
yes. So this is what I talked to Miranda and I. We've been going back and forth. We're gonna put out in August. So we're gonna do. I got to talk to Mr. Hillary too. We're gonna make a adult pass for $50, and it's just on your phone. So all you do is show them your adult pass, and you get in. Kids get in free no matter what. We've been promoting our senior passes, so seniors do not have to pay or download that app. It's a pain in the butt for them. So that's the goal next year, is to have more of a friendly or way to get in with that pass. It'll save money. It's $50. You figure if they go to 10 events, and it's right there, it saves them money. You know,
Is that a all year pass?
it's an all year pass. So it's the fall, winter, and spring. Yep.
That's great.
And then we bought iPads in the spring that have like a card reader on them. So for those that couldn't get on their phone, because our internet's pretty bad out there, well, this is a Wi-Fi iPad. They just put their card in and pay for it right there. So people love that in the spring that we got. Yeah, but that was a big pain in the butt for us too. But our whole league does it, and it's easy. It's great for us because there's no money going anywhere else. It's all going right here. We can print out reports for it. I get the problems of it, but they're trying to problem solve, which is great. They're coming up with new ideas for it. So I really am happy with what they've come up with.
It's fairly new.
It's brand new. It's been since COVID, since you couldn't handle money.
Right.
It was called the GoFan. So to get in the game, you have to buy an app. You have to get an app on a phone. You type in how many tickets you want, and show it to the ticket person, and they just hit accept or confirm. That's how
We
they
have
get
to
in.
do that at the movies, for heaven's sake.
You do for everything you do. I mean, and
Yeah,
that's the thing.
once you have the app, it's pretty easy, but I think it's more the fee that you pay. to use
Yeah,
the
and
app.
so a lot of schools are doing is it's a $5 fee, right? We've always charged $5. A lot of schools are just charging $6 and not saying anything about the fee. So it's $6 to get in. So I think our $5 fee has been for how long? For
Forever.
20 years. So if we raise it to $6, nobody's gonna say anything because
So it's 5 and 1.
I think it's 5 and 2. But that senior pass, we hey, here's a senior pass. Like we try to give them out. So if somebody comes in, they look like a senior. Hey, you have a senior pass? Here you go. You know.
It's
And,
for me, if I don't win re-election.
So I mean, yeah, it's really economical for seniors. I mean, and like I said, we try to get them in. We don't want them to struggle. Here's a senior pass. And it's good for all SEC events. So if they have a senior pass, they can go to Chelsea, Dexter, Adrian, Pinckney, and they get in free. And you most of the time, like if you go to Blissfield, they'll accept them too.
I thought he was
So-
referencing both of us.
But yeah, that's been kind of a thing. But
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep. Any other questions?
Of course, you look older than me.
Thank you. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because your husband and brother spoil you.
Next on the reports is the board study session.
Facilities Committee first.
Oh, facilities committee, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
Nope, that's okay. We met on the 25th of May. Mr. Lewis, myself, Mr. Smith, Mr. Hawkins, Ms. Glenn, and Mr. Hilderly were there. We missed Mrs. Moore. Basically, we just covered the maintenance plan, of which you all kind of saw some of the details this evening in the study session, as well as we talked about ESSER funds and what the update was there, and there's no new update. So, but they were all supposed to be decided by now. And then we also just got a very brief update on the solar project. So I think the quote is probably in to Mr. Smith. So we'll see that this week in the facilities team meeting, maybe. And also that they have another company they're meeting with on June 17th, NextEra Energy. So, and then also just concerns about, of course, energy increasing costs and summer rolling brownouts in the area, but more than likely we won't experience that as a school. So anyway, it was a long meeting because we went through the whole maintenance plan, but it was no new recommendations for the board this time.
So in terms of the solar, tell me again, you said that there's a new company coming?
Yeah, the quote from Harvest Solar was due the end of May, so maybe we'll see that this week. And then NextEra Energy, there's a meeting middle of June.
All right,
So very soon now, but it hasn't happened yet.
all right. Have we made any progress on getting, there was some discussion at one of the meetings about a public, the schools and some public entities teaming?
So the quote from Harvest Solar and then the meeting with NextEra Energy, Mike explained he wants those to happen first before he continues the study of that, of the private-public partnership.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? I don't know if
No.
it's appropriate. If it's not, just, let me know. But I wondered if at this upcoming facilities meeting, if you might look at ways, like typically over the summer, there's a lot of effort in cleaning the buildings. And then, when we have a lot of summer programming, which is essential, then it's hard to get those buildings clean. And we also have, obviously we have custodians that we need to hire and whatnot. So I wondered if maybe at one of your upcoming facilities meeting, you might talk about how to get the buildings ready for fall.
Mr. Hilderly, will you put that on the agendas?
Yes. And I know that Mr. Hawkins has a plan
Right.
of attack for this summer, so we can
Sure,
have
it's hard when you don't have a lot of
maybe a
employees.
mid-year report in July about how
Okay.
we're going.
That was it.
Any other questions for Trustee Davis? Board study session. Mr. Hilder, you want to start?
Yeah, I think that it was important to note that the board met for an hour and 15 minutes prior to this meeting. A study session is a good way for a board to onboard information and have questions answered. So kind of a homework session in preparation for what's coming up in discussion. It involved not only the board and myself, but also representatives from some of our advising agencies, TMP, the architect firm, Plant Moran Cressa, and also our financial advisors, PFM. And I think that the board asked a lot of good questions. I know that everyone is struggling with the right answer, and I think that everybody has a lot of good input for marketing strategies moving forward. But the study session was good way to have discussion in ways that maybe don't happen during the board meeting because it involves individuals who aren't a part of the administration. So valuable, I thought, in your estimation.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was, we had good discussions. We had good information transfer. I think we could have went for another hour. I mean, we have lots of this is not a decision that this board is taking lightly as for a direction to go respond. And I appreciate the discussion we have, and we'll see if we're able to. Hopefully, we'll be able to make some decisions here in a little bit about direction to take. Anybody else have anything you want to comment about that?
In discussion, I will.
I understand. Just asking now. All right. So if that's the case, we'll move on to year-end student growth report. Mrs. Way.
Mr. Dolson, come on up. He's trying to get out of it. Did you see it? So, if you remember back to February, we had a meeting where we talked a little bit about our data and growth goals that we had set for this school year. It's part of one of the requirements that we have under Section 98B of some of the funding we've received. So we talked a little bit about our goals at that time. So in your pack, you should have the updated form here. So our middle of the year goal was to see 50% of our K-4 students and our 5th through 8th grade students making growth. And for the end of the year, we wanted that to be up to 75% of all of our K-8 students making growth in both reading and in math. So if you look to the kind of the second part here with the charts, you can see the percentage for each. You don't have it. You're looking at me like you don't have
I'm not sure
We
which
don't
there's.
have
I don't
This,
think-
yes, we did. It was under this. It said June.
Online?
Is it?
It was in the packet. June data report for board education.
That started with iReady. Oh, I see it.
right there. Yep. So if you look, there's a column for reading and a column for math. And again, our goal was to have above 75% of our students making growth in our benchmark assessments. And as you can see, all numbers are either in the high 80s or the 90s. Most are in the 90s, meaning that, like, for example, all of our students there, 92% of all of our K-8 students made growth in reading and 91% made growth in math, which is really great. And then we have to break it down into some of our subgroups if we have more than 30 students in those subgroups. If we have less than 30 students in a subgroup, they don't want you to report publicly on it because it can be too identifiable to particular students. So even within our subgroups, we had really great growth in both reading and math, K through 8. And then the second part there under table C is just broken it down by specific grade levels. We're going to talk a little bit more after Mr. Dolson presents the high school data, dive deeper into our reading program that we have at our elementaries. It's going to kind of give you an idea about some of the things that we're doing to help see some of this growth. And in fact, the elementary principals and we met today with our curriculum associates rep for our math program. And she said, you know, just reviewing our data, she said, you guys made an amazing amount of data for the first year implementing a program at the elementary level. So we were very happy to hear that because we had a lot of students coming in and out and missing a lot of days due to quarantines, COVID, illness, et cetera. So we were very happy to see that amount of growth for our elementary students. So Mr. Dolson, do you want to talk a little bit about the high school goals? Okay. And then we can, yeah.
So Hoyt tricked me he told me to wear a suit coat tonight, so I didn't know we were in the summer fit, but he got me. So. Devin and I had this problem earlier today too. Our very first football meeting and the technology didn't work, and it looks like it's not working again today. So.
While he's getting that loaded up, actually, Tricia, we just want to, we also gave some printouts, some handouts with some Parts of
Triangles.
grass.
Right.
Yep, I saw
We'll
those.
kind of bounce around a little bit. But if you look at the first one there with the triangle, that's our iReady. That's the assessment that we use for elementary K4. You have a math sheet and a reading sheet. So you might remember this report from the fall, but so they have the most recent on top. So for example, you'll see Herrick Park at the top and it says most recent, and then right below it, it says fall test. So what you're looking for is you want to see that green grow and you want to see the red and the yellow decrease. So just using Herrick Park for example, 19% of our Herrick Park students were at what we consider grade level placement. At the end of the year, we were up to 66%. So we started in the teens for all of our buildings and ended in the 50s or 60s. So a lot of growth there in math. And then in reading, similarly, our green grew by a lot, our yellow and our red decreased. For example, Tecumseh Acres, we went from 23% to 74% of our students meeting those grade level benchmarks. So very excited about that.
And the yellow represents,
That's up within 1 year below where they should be. So like, let's say if they're a second grader, they're performing in the first grade range on most skills. And red would be if they're a second grader, have kindergarten level skills.
And you have nothing to compare this to because we didn't keep track like this before, right?
Right, this is our first year using this data, but we can, comparing fall to the spring, we're very excited about that growth.
And I noticed on the other one, we were a little bit below the national average on some of them, and
For the
we'll be
middle
able to track our improvement on
Yeah,
that.
are
too.
Yes,
We're
yeah.
gonna talk about the middle school.
Talk about the middle school, yes.
So we're gonna switch colors
And I can't
Green and
find-
red
I
to
can't find
pink
the
and
colors
purple.
on here.
So you should have both of these reports. They're not crumpled up like they are in my hand. And one positive that I do want to call out is looking at the high risk and the some risk, which is the pink color. Those numbers did decrease for reading 14% to 13%. For the high risk, and then 30% down to 22% for some risk. And we saw that our low risk and our college pathways did go up. Definitely our college pathway from 24% up to 30%. So that is a huge success in my eyes from where we started. And then also looking at the reading, I think as we move into next year, having a cohesive curriculum, building wide, that I would only expect those numbers to go up.
I guess I just wanted to say, I realize that you've had 3 assessments in 3 years at the middle school. In my mind, I appreciate the fact that you're looking for like some clear expectations for the staff, in some interventions and maybe even some training in interventions, because I would obviously like to see that look better. I think everyone else would. I think it's remarkable considering they've all come back in one building. But I would like a push, obviously, toward maybe helping. I know when I was a staff member, learning how I could best intervene when a student had an issue or didn't show the growth. I think that's important.
Absolutely. And I think that also moving forward, continuing to do the interventions that Kim worked with each of our grade levels on monthly. Who are the students that we're working with to see those numbers go up? That's something that certainly needs to continue into
And
next year.
I'm really excited to see, I really don't think we advertise the fact that we're spending all this money on an amazing English curriculum. And I would like the public to know that we're going to have an intervention tool that looks much like what the elementary does. And I would really like that marketed more. And the fact that we have this amazing summer school program that many schools do not have.
And actually speaking to the curriculum, I don't want to go down another path, but being proactive, looking at next year, we already have our monthly meetings set up with the
Great.
teachers. So our instructional coaches, Buffy will be working with 5th grade on their curriculum, and then Amanda Schmidt will be working with 6, 7, and 8. And we'll be meeting once to twice a month on those curriculums and learning them. So
Can I ask a question? The company that we're purchasing it from, are they coming in to work directly with staff or are they only working with instructional coaches?
during, I'll let you
Yeah,
talk.
they will. We have several PD sessions that we're
we're setting up with them. But what we found this year, particularly with our math implementation, it was that monthly meeting and touching base with our coach that really supported the implementation of the program. And so we found a lot of success with that, got a lot of great feedback from our teachers, including comments like, this is so much more beneficial to me than sitting in a room with a consultant for 3 hours. This is what's helping drive grade level conversations. A lot of times when you're sitting in those PD sessions, it's someone talking to you. The conversations with the coaches, they're bringing their data to the meetings monthly. They're talking about the scope and sequence. Are we all teaching on the same pace? Which students need interventions? That to them has been much more powerful than PD sessions. Not to say that the companies don't do a great job on the PD sessions. We had a great one this morning. But it's just a different level of support that they found to be really beneficial. And so when we were talking about implementing the curriculum, that was something that we definitely wanted to move forward into the middle school next year as well.
Absolutely. And it's a really good balance of accountability and support. And I'll be at all of those meetings. So I very much want to be immersed into the curriculum as well.
And beyond that, it's a draw for our school. It's a win-win for the kids. That's what they're here for: English, math, science.
Absolutely. And then if we look at math, same type of data. See, I see the numbers go down, but we have to look at it in a good way. So high risk, some risk, we went from 15% to 13%, then 32% to 29%. And then looking at the college pathway, 16% up to 28%. Just in reflection of this growth and this report, certainly continuing the intervention meetings, looking at what we're doing on a daily basis with the curriculum and making sure that we're cohesive across the building, 5-8 with the curriculum, and that everyone is doing the same thing.
That's important.
And I would like to put in a little plug. I would love to be able to have another math interventionist. Sorry. I think that would be very beneficial to have a position like that.
I explain what you mean by that.
It would just be a position in which another support would go into the classrooms and be able to work with small groups, small intervention groups, along with the teacher. So
And-
right
and-
now we have one
So we have one math interventionist now
at the middle school.
at
Yep.
the middle school. And how many, and you'd like a second?
Mhm.
And how many science interventionists do we have, or reading?
Reading, well, just this past year, Jamie and Lisa were gracious enough to send us Elizabeth DeMullen and Brittany Wolf to the middle school to work with our 5th grade group of students, and we actually saw huge success with that.
So we have 2 of those positions for reading.
Just for 5th grade. I'd like to see it
Mhm.
building wide.
And they're going to talk a little bit about their program. It's a grant-funded program. There's 5 reading specialists district-wide, and there's 2 math coaches.
Yeah, we had a
Sounds like it's
presentation on
spirited.
that recently, right, on the reading coaches? The reading
Yeah,
specialists?
you had a presentation on the 3rd grade reading law. Yep. So they're going to talk a little bit more specifically about the work that they do and the results that they saw, and how many students they were able to service.
And then do you adjust that? Like if you're very successful and you only need 4, do you move them somewhere else?
Yes.
Or?
Yep. Yep. At the beginning of the year, the first thing we do is look at data, and then we make placements. The 5 reading specialists go wherever the data tells them to go. Really, they're tentatively assigned to buildings, but we shift people around based on needs.
Did I miss this? Where are the math specialists at?
We have one at the middle school, and then we have one that splits the ILCs.
But looking at the math data,
Yeah.
it's a great
And
need.
the reading specialist program has been around for, it's almost been 20 years now. It's something that, is a pretty firm and solid program, but the math is something we could definitely build upon and improve upon.
And do we know how other competitive districts are handling this?
I mean, it's not uncommon to have the reading be more of a focus as far as intervention goes, especially with things like the 3rd grade reading law, kind of holding your feet to the fire. Very similar to us, districts use their grant money to pay for these types of positions.
We used to have an elective that rotated that zoomed in on math, and then all students 5th through 8th grade had an opportunity to either have acceleration or they had the opportunity for remediation. And I feel like that would be an excellent thing to look at in the future.
And Mr. Dolson is not getting out of this. It's part of our report for the state. We only have to report on K through 8, but we know it's important to share some of our high school success as well. I will share that moving into next year, we will have the same FastBridge data for both ELA and math in the high school. So we will be able to see from 5th through 12th grade, the pink and purple report. So that'll be great.
Will
for us
there
for
also
next
be an attempt at the high school level to show what percentage of kids go into the trades and what percentage go over here and what percentage go to?
You do a graduation survey, do you not? Like how many are going into college, and then you follow up to find out after the first year how many remained, how many went into the military.
But
how many
not
went
just
into-
college. I mean,
No, but
other
they do,
successful
I mean, they
jobs
do
too,
an
right?
exit survey,
Right.
so you just would have to take the exit survey and then implement, like, this percentage went into work, this
Right.
force, this percentage went to college.
Could we let
This
Mr.
percentage
Dolson
went into
present
the
his
Army.
data, please? Thank you.
So to answer your question, yes, we have that information. I don't have that
But
information.
somebody does.
Correct. Yes. Not, that will not be in this presentation
Right.
right here. Yep.
Well, she asked a question, I was just telling you that you have it.
So the information that I'm going to present on is basically about departmental goals, and the reason we're doing that is specifically why what Megan said earlier in terms of we don't have the same data that they have, and a lot of the data that we have to generate is internal. We also have data that we look at, SAT data. That information doesn't come to us until middle of June when the building scores get released. The students are getting individual scores right now, but we won't get building data until later on in June. And then we also take the M-STEP, but that data is not allowed to be public. So we can't bring that data here as well. So we chose to present to you guys about departmental goals. Beginning of the year, our teachers, when we wrote about our student growth goals as part of their evaluation process, we decided to focus on two areas really. One is proficiency and one is growth. So in our proficiency goals, we stated that 80%, if a student hit 80% on a final exam, we considered that to be mastery of content. And one of the reasons we selected that number is we figured at 80%, that student mastered the content. And if we had kids that were deciding to test out of classes, they at least needed to be able to show us that you need to master the material at 80%. So our proficiency goals were for every teacher basically across the board in our building, in all of our departments, that 70% of our students would demonstrate 80% or more on a pre and post test. So we started to collect that information at the beginning of the semester. We took a pre-test at the beginning of the semester, and then we just got done taking final exams. And then the other goal we focused on was the growth goal, in which after the pre-test happens, the student and the teacher collaborate together, come up with a growth goal that they both think that the student can hit, and then the student works to that goal. And so that growth goal is that 80% or more of the students in the classroom show some type of growth based on that conversation and that teacher's understanding of the student's skill set. So these are broken down by department. The first two are the math and the science department here. So here you see 3 out of 6 teachers achieved the goal for science and proficiency. 2 of those teachers were in the 75% range, so they didn't hit the 80% range, but 75% of their students showed 80% mastery of the material. The math department, they were 6 for 6. And then growth goal, both math and science, all of our teachers in that department hit their growth goals. So the proficiency goals, if we just back it up a little bit, what we're saying here is that 7 out of 10 kids are going to get a B or better on a final exam. And so if our teachers don't hit that goal, then we're saying they don't hit their goal. But some of the teachers, like I said, were just off that percentage. So it wasn't like this huge discrepancy where we were just falling off the map of not hitting that goal. We were just a couple percentage points. And so we just said, hey, we didn't meet that goal, and we just kind of pressed forward.
Yeah, but we didn't hit the goal.
Correct. We did not hit the goal.
We
And
can
that's,
say it's a percentage point here or there, but the math department, so what's going to change in the science department?
well, and I'm going to talk about the English department here in a minute too, but the English department, they didn't hit their goals either. The English department, obviously the new curriculum's coming in. I think we can do a better job next year of some interventions when we see that kids are struggling a little bit. We'll have that type of resource available to us. And then I think in the science department, the feedback that we're getting right now is that we just need to do a better job of making sure we're teaching more to to the final exam and preparing our kids a little bit better. I think additionally, what we have to look at is how are we writing the goals? Like we're saying that 7 out of 10 kids are going to get a B or better. And if we don't hit that mark, then we're not, I don't know if that's a really accurate reflection of whether or not we have good teachers. Because I think that
where you got those numbers from.
and so that's, if I brought John Laney in here right now, he would have a full on debate about the validity of an 80%, because there's not a lot of data about 80%. It's just an arbitrary number that we come up with. So we can say, hey, here's a number that we want to try to hit. And if we don't hit that number, well, we didn't meet our goal. John Laney will tell you that we want some data that supports
I
the
think we
80%.
should look at the fact that this is now our second complete year of a math curriculum program, right?
And that's the point I was going to make
So
too.
now we
Yep.
have 6 out of 6 achieving.
Correct.
And science is not going to come in till this coming year. So obviously we're going to have some growth, hopefully in science, because we're going to spend time.
ELA is
looking at a
coming in this year,
curriculum.
and so science and social studies
I
are up for
hope.
review
I hope.
year after that.
So what you're saying then is that we're a year away from being able to meet this goal.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that, hey, we're going to wait until all the curriculum, everything changes.
It should
We're going to get better at looking at what we've done. Our teachers right now are going through a lot of self-reflection, and what did we do not so well, and what do we need to do better at? And those are coming back to me right now. But I can tell you one of the things that we have to do a better job of is getting our kids ready for the exam. And what does that look like? And teaching strategies and interventions and late work policies, retake policies,
And you have to
all
think
those
about
different
the
things.
fact for 3-4 years, they didn't have to take an exam. So these same
Well, I
students
understand, but all those
didn't have
arguments
that.
you make, all those arguments you make, the math department did it, right? So
True.
I just
We
want
got
to
a new math
understand.
curriculum though,
True,
not
but
long ago.
the math
Yeah.
curriculum, we had an
Years ago.
intervention
Yeah.
component built in it, and the science wouldn't have had that intervention component, I'm thinking, I
I know,
don't
but me
know.
personally,
I understand.
I don't care.
Yeah, I
3 out of 6
understand.
didn't meet the goal. So
I
I want to
get it.
understand what we're doing better this year and the next year to do that.
So Mr. Dolson, you mentioned that teachers are,
Then why are we going through all this?
We're not. It's a group of progress. But
I can't even hear what he's saying.
Never mind.
so
He said, they make sales goals, you make them less.
Yeah, and we're not talking in the high school, we're not talking about writing goals to lower standards. What we're actually talking about is we need to do a better job at showing how much growth we're actually providing. For example, if a kid takes a pretest in science and scores like a 65% on a pretest, right? How much growth does that kid have an opportunity to show us now, because he's a high flyer? And so how does that reflect the teacher really? Really, we're talking about that kid's pretty good right off the bat. What if we get a kid that comes in and's got a 10 or a 15 on a pretest, and that teacher gets that kid to a 75 or a 60? Like now we're really showing a lot of percentage in growth, and really that's more reflective of what a teacher's really doing in a classroom. We're really we're really talking about how much growth we're getting kids to show. So if you look at the growth goals, each one of our departments are hitting that growth goal. They're sitting down with a kid and they're saying, hey buddy, we understand you're a little low right now, you got a 10, we think you can get to a 65, 70, and that kid's hitting it. And so when you look at the proficiency goal, yeah, it says not every kid got a B. 3 of our teachers did not get every kid or 70% of our kids to a B. But in the same department, every single one of our teachers hit that growth goal that the kid and the student supplied. And that's what the middle school is looking at too. We're talking about growth, and all the middle school teachers show growth. And we're saying here, we also showed growth.
So
We also
again,
had a
with
lot
the
of
high
growth.
school, we also have to look at intervention strategies with our teacher. That should become maybe a goal. And then do we have any, like you said, that we would be able to maybe have more test results in, I know Suzanne loves data,
Don't
in
even get me
July? Like, couldn't we look at like the percentage of our students that maybe we have a lot of AP science that, and see the projections of how they did? I think that would be interesting to know.
Yep, and it's my fault for not bringing this up too, but when the teachers are writing a goals, they're looking at a specific data point on one common assessment, right? They're not talking about like those teachers could really take multiple data points if you wanted them to and show you all the different tests along the way, and the data would probably be a little bit different, and where they would say, well, more teachers are hitting the goal now. We're just talking about one assessment right here in this data point. But when you look at the growth goals, everybody's hitting the growth goal.
Does the state or anybody set any type of level that to get a B in this science class, you have to have this achievement? Or who's saying it's a B? Are we saying it's a B?
We're saying-
Or is the state saying it's a B?
We're saying, according to our standards, we want every kid to master the class at 80%. Now, the state, if a kid gets a D minus, they pass the class. What
Well, I
we're
understand, but
saying,
that's not what I asked. I asked to get a B in Tecumseh, is it the same get a B as in Clinton?
We don't. know.
we're all teaching the same standards. Like
80%.
every,
80%
If you take a test and you get 80% right, you got a B. But I don't know if our test is the same as their test, so I'm not even sure. what
But
we're
they
at.
have to teach the same content.
yeah, we're not talking about a common assessment across the board where you're gonna walk into a Clinton Science Department and see a common assessment because they're writing their assessments differently than we're writing our assessment. What you're talking about is probably more SAT data that I can't give you until it gets released, and then
But
we
you'll
could start to
come back with
compare
that, right? I
yeah,
hope.
other school districts. Correct. We're just talking about internal data right now that we're
Right.
collecting on
This
ourselves.
is a big improvement from what we received for, I remember last year, my very first meeting of the year was data. And our high school data did not give us anything other than it wasn't anywhere near to this detail. So in my point,
But
there's
this
some
isn't their
progression,
detail
at
either.
least giving us some information.
But this isn't nearly as much detail as we've gotten from the
No,
elementary.
you're right.
So
But
Yeah,
they-
and
they
again,
need
though,
to get
and
to that.
to speak to that piece, they have systems and tests in place that we don't. So it's easier to pull different reports from systems that we don't have.
Yeah.
So this is internal data that we're collecting on
we're
ourselves.
gonna have to help you get some systems.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
think actually moving forward, Greg, I'm sorry, step in. Moving into
Yeah.
next year with Fast Rich for
Go ahead.
ELA and math, we've already started the joint TMS, THS meetings. So those conversations are happening between the two buildings. To then have the same system is going to only make it.
yep, we got those systems that come in
Yeah.
and they're building up, and now next year we'll be able to provide the same data for you because we will have the same
Yeah,
systems
that's
in
great.
place.
And
Yep.
maybe in
awesome.
servicing on interventions would definitely help to Mr. Repatero's point, so teachers could learn from what other teachers were able to do with their students to get to that level.
I
So
think
here,
I'm sorry, Mr.
Yep,
Dolson,
go
to
ahead.
interrupt you. Thank you for sharing this. I think a key point, rather than jumping to countermeasures, is please do a gap analysis of the reason why. First of all, I think you're starting to grasp that maybe your target isn't written properly, and so I appreciate that, and I thank you for your comments on that. But whatever measurement you do want to have, please measure the gap, and then do a, I look forward to hearing what countermeasures you think need to be done. It's intervention or intervention plus other items. If
Yeah.
you could maybe discuss with Mr. Hilderly a good time to bring that back to the board.
and when we were talking about the goals, we look at the goals and we realize we have some work to do there, but it's not in the, well, we need to lower the standard to meet a goal type thing. We're actually talking about how do we do a better job at getting kids to be more proficient, but at the same time also establishing a better growth goal and be able to provide that data as well. But again, proficiency goal 4 out of 7 in English, 4 out of 6 in social studies, but each department is hitting goals at a high level there. And then the elective department, 10 out of 11 departments, elective teachers hit their goal, and 11 out of 11 hit their growth goal. And like I said before, I don't have the SAT data. I think that would be a better comparison for us, like in the areas in terms of how we're doing, but that data won't get released until later in the month. And I can definitely bring that back in the
Maybe
summertime.
July, that'd be
Yep.
great.
So to the previous discussion about additional data to bring, in the My School data, they show graduation rates, but then they also show college ready and career
Mhm.
ready. So I'm not saying to bring that, but maybe as you're looking at this growth and those types of things, it's an interesting disparity across the state of how many graduate versus how many are college or career ready. So
Yep.
especially in the high school area, considering how we measure that. Would be helpful.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
So we'll bring our reading specialists up to talk a little bit more in detail about their program and how we spend our grant money on that.
I can do the math real quick.
Right.
For fifth graders. Let's put it-
Maybe first grade.
I need patience.
Devin, are you playing tricks on me? Okay, so I'll go ahead and start. Thank you for having us. We have our reading specialist here. We'll start Tanya Harris. And we have Kelly Krull. Tanya is at Sutton and Acres. Kelly's at Acres. And then we have Kim Zelenek, and she is at Sutton. You were split before, so I was going for the split. We have Elizabeth DeMullen, and she's at Patterson, and Brittany Wolf, and she is at Hare Park. Elizabeth and Brittany also go to middle school as well. We have reading interventionists. We have Kylie Myers and Heather McKibben. They both are at Acres. Heather is split, so you'll see her name twice. She's at Hare Park as well. Nicole Painter's at Sutton, and Erin Hartman's at Patterson. So with the interventionists, they see students who are strategic, and the reading specialists help make their lesson plans, help get all their materials. So they are really making sure that they are hitting the targeted goals. They all come to our meetings as well, all of our data meetings.
Right, so just want to talk to you a little bit about how we run the programs using grant money. So we use it to support the kiddos who are at risk of failing to meet the district's core academic standards. Title I, Part A, grant money is also allocated to our Tecumseh Acres ELC in Sutton, and Herrick Park ILC and Patterson ILC, as well as middle school. The grant money is used to provide support from the people that Jamie just talked about.
So we presented to you earlier this year about our read by grade 3 law. I think we also told you at that point we had our data back for the students that had taken their M-STEP. We ended up having 4 of our 3rd graders this year get flagged for retention, which just meant they had to go through that exemption process and fill out the form and send it on to, it went to Jamie Fulton first and then goes on to the superintendent to make that final decision for them. If those students stay back in 3rd grade, then they would get extra reading supports again for that year, be assigned to the most effective teacher. And if they go on to 4th grade, same thing, they're going to get reading supports again for 4th grade and be assigned to the most highly effective teachers for 4th grade. And we had one this year. We tracked him all year long. And when he did his M-STEP at the end of the year for 4th grade, he was at grade level or above in all of his areas for reading. So we've got all our supports in place for those kids. The IRIP was part of the Read by Grade 3. Tecumseh's always had a reading specialist program in place and been supporting the students, but the IRIP was something new that came with the law, which is just the name of the document that each kid gets their own individual reading improvement plan. So we wanted to share our data with you for the percentage of students that we had on an IRIP plan this year. Kindergarten, we had the most students, and you can see as you go up by grade levels that there were fewer and fewer percentage of students. A lot of the 3rd graders that we had on a plan this year too, that 31%, those kids might have been just below on their reading. But by giving them that plan, when we get to the end of the year, if they happen to fall below on their M-STEP, we've got a year long of supports in place for them. We've got all of that data collected and evidence to show what we've done to support them with their reading. So we tend to err on the side of supporting more of those students. And if there's any area that we think, hey, maybe we need to give them a little extra support, we'll do that. And every single grade level, when you go from beginning to end of the year, after receiving the supports, we showed how many of those students would not need an IRIP by the end of the year. So all of those dropped.
All right. So we provide reading support as part of the student's IRIP. They have goals, and I know we talked about this before. We make goals and we make sure that everything is layered on those goals so that we are all reaching that same goal. And it may be in a different way. It could be the classroom teacher who is doing a small group instruction, and then they may see the reading specialist or reading interventionist. If they need more support, they might go to the resource room or see a reading specialist, interventionist, teacher on a one-on-one basis. So our groups run anywhere from 4 to 5 days a week. And again, they go to the middle school as well, and it is very similar.
That's the next slide. We do go to the middle school this year. Brittany and I shared that duty. And again, we worked with small groups, 4 to 5 days a week. We progress monitored at the end of the week. We got our information from the Fast Bridge assessments, and we focused on, this year, we focused on fluency. So our goal was to get students up to par in words per minute. So that's it. We were at the middle school.
I'd say your data is pretty successful.
Mary?
I'd say your data is pretty successful if you're able to drop that many down in terms of interventions, and 4 out of the entire 3rd grade. It's not too bad.
Too bad.
So as was mentioned, we mostly spend our time planning for and meeting with the students in either one-on-one or small groups. We also collaborate with the classroom teacher during data meetings. We meet with each teacher and we share and analyze the student data. We work with the classroom teacher and the special ed teacher, if that student sees the special ed teacher as well, to set the student goals. We work together to ensure that all the tiers of intervention are working toward the same goal so that we really get our efforts all working towards the same end.
So this table shows us the percentage of students in each building who receive Title I support in reading. And then when we put all the buildings together, we found out that 29% of students receive support. So this is our kindergarten data. These are students, we use the Fontes and Pinnell reading assessment. It gives us a text level, their reading level. In the beginning of the year, 27% of kindergartners were reading at the expected benchmark. And by the end of the year, 66% were reading at the expected benchmark in kindergarten. These charts show us how our first graders performed on the Fontes and Pinnell assessment. 63% performed at or above grade level, and that went up to 71% in the spring. And then 68% of our second graders performed at or above grade level, and that went up to 76% in the spring.
So our 3rd grade Fontes and Pinnell, you can see that we dropped by our at-risk by 10%. So that's very good, especially, you know, as the kids get older, we do see that this shrinking doesn't happen as fast. But you can see that we did have an improvement from 76 at benchmark to 86%. And then again, same with 4th grade. We didn't realize as much drop in that below grade level, but I think it's important to note that even at this, even as you see that red mark, please know that these students are still showing growth throughout the year in their reading. They may have come in at a very low level, you know, and they might not be able to get to that grade level point by the end of 1 year. And you have to also realize that a lot of our population at this point also have IEPs.
But we still work, we're still working on getting them to grade level. So that's fourth grade data.
As Mrs. Lay talked about earlier, we are doing the iReady assessment this year, and it is our first year implementing this assessment. So I think it shows the great growth that our students made, even despite all of the challenges with being the first year of implementing a new assessment.
All right, so we just want to say thank you for your continued support with the Title I program. We see the difference that it makes with these students. It's amazing to watch any of them in a small group and watch them do what they do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And it is so fun to watch and see where the light bulb goes and talking to them, say, Jamie, guess what happened today? It is truly amazing, the Title I program. So again, thank you, ladies. We appreciate you, and thank you for supporting us.
Okay, I have a couple questions. I know it's a surprise. What, and this is maybe a question you can't answer, but I'd be curious to know, what percentage of our kids in, say, the fourth grade are on IEPs? I mean, she brought up the fact that, you know, the IEP numbers are in there. Just as a rule of thumb. Huh?
You're talking about the IRIPs?
No, are on IEPs.
I would have to get that information to you. I don't have that off the top of my head.
Do you think it's higher or lower than 11%?
Go ahead, Kim.
Is that the state? Is that kind of normal, or is it?
Last time I looked at the data, we were lower in the county than the other districts in the county. I'm not sure about the state. I could pull that data.
Is there anything, do you have any wish lists that may help that number go to 5% for fourth grade?
Turn to you guys, your wish list. Yeah, to make the number.
I'm not saying we're gonna do it, but I'd always like to, I think it's important for us to understand. I mean, we want that number to be 0, right? So, I mean, hopefully it's not,
But you've just started tracking it.
hopefully it's not throw more people at it, because that's the hardest thing to do.
Well,
But if
the
there's
curriculum-
tools,
Which number? 'Cause we were just
well,
on
she
that.
had the last pie charts they showed in fourth grade, there was 11% that didn't meet the fourth grade reading efficiency. I mean, any of them, we'd like them to be 0, but
And the reading specialists have been going to a monthly conference with the reading specialists from Lenawee County. So they'll come back and they'll say, hey, Jamie, this is a great tool. Can we get that? I call Megan. Megan's like, yep, we can get something, just let me know. So it's kind of a process. They come in, hey, I want to try this, or this is new that I want to do letters training, or I want to do Orton training. And so they come to us and they say, this is what we need, and we're able to support them.
I remember looking at the curriculum and there's this intervention, I asked you that then, but there was like the intervention component that could be utilized as part of our new curriculum, which I'm sure you'll all use, right?
Yep, and I think we just got a little additional training on that this morning from our representative. And so it'll be nice to be able to follow up with our teachers too and say, how are you using this? How are you partnering with our interventionists and our reading specialists? So that the program offers a lot of great pieces.
We'll be anxious
Well, and
to
then
see that.
as the years go by and you have this data and you know where you need to tweak and you can compare it to county, state, and national averages. And
I mean, again, all I want is the best for our kids and to be the best in the county, right? So, or in the state after that. So, I'm just asking, what else do we need? I don't, now's the time to do it, but.
I can get you a list. I'll email that to you.
No problem. That's all. I just think it's important for us to understand that. I'm not saying we can do it, but.
I appreciate this data because we haven't had, you gave us some data early on, and then now we have some definite picture of fall and spring. I appreciate that.
Can I ask just a data question? I think I understand, but the fall data is like a pre-test, right? Of where they are
just shows
to
where-
the,
correct.
and then the spring is after a year of instruction. So when we see like the bar chart, we shouldn't assume that 7% of our students are regressing
Right.
during the summer, right? So that's the pretest. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood that before we kept looking at the data. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Really,
I think it's worth noting that Mrs. Shirk, Mrs. Fulton, and Mrs. Way are all former reading specialists.
Huh.
So the program is not only staffed by, but also supervised by people who really know what they're doing in the area of reading instruction. We're very fortunate in that respect to have leaders who have specific knowledge of the end result. And I think that that's reflected by the quality of the people who are now in those positions as well. Thank you for the presentation.
All right. We'll move on now to the discussion items. Bond vote. So I think, in the past when we've had discussions like this, we kind of went around the room and let everybody give their position. And I'm thinking just off the top of my head, that might not be a bad way to go here. We all have a lot of strong feelings about it, and I think it's important that we all get our comment out. So, does anybody think that's a terrible idea?
I'm going to start, if you don't mind, I'm going to start and frame the conversation with where, how we've gotten to this point.
Okay.
Obviously, the May 3rd election didn't go our way. We immediately had some thoughts about how we might deal with that and put into action a plan that involved community input. We had a survey that ran for a little over a week, had over 700 respondents. We had community forums, both in person and virtual, and took the information to the Building Futures Committee. They had some recommendations, and then I have some recommendations of my own. The recommendation of the Futures Committee was to move forward with a November vote. They were given three choices, and that is to vote again in November on the same program, asking for more money because of inflation costs. Second choice would be to go back in November, ask for the same amount of money, $75 million or less, and then eliminate some things from the program. And then choice three was to wait until 2023, either May or August or November, and completely redesign the program. So their recommendations involved coming back in November. They didn't think that there was a lot of there were many items in the program that weren't needed, but they did give the board the latitude to use their discretion at reducing the number of programs to maintain the original target cost of $75 million. So my own recommendation goes along with that a little bit more in depth, that I recommend a November vote, that we stay at or below the $75 million projected, that the facilities committee work with TMP to trim the program to get us to that number, that we update the bond language as soon as possible because we have a meeting with the State Treasury Department in July. And then on the marketing side, which is a different part of the conversation, that we add a ad hoc board bond committee to inform the campaign and work between July and November to focus specifically on the items of need and how the financial implications impact the budget of the general fund that the board has to manage as well. So in our study session tonight, you had an opportunity to consider all those things, and those are the recommendations from the Futures Committee, and then my recommendation based on all of the input that we heard from everyone who chose to give us that input. So from there, I would say, yes, you're right, that each board member might speak to their own thinking.
Who'd like to go first?
I'll go.
I will. I'll marry
Go.
again.
You
You-
go ahead.
Okay.
I support that 75 million staying at or below. I support heavily a marketing committee ad hoc so that we really are looking at what we're focusing on and what the need is, because it isn't window trim. It's real need based on numbers that would have to come out of our general fund, which would mean that we wouldn't be able to, adequately pay staff what they deserve to be paid. So I concur with Rick on his suggestions. And I feel like the marketing is a big piece. We weren't that far off. And surely we can adjust with inflation as best we can, and maybe even look at possibly offering two options if the majority felt that way, to add back on some of the things that we couldn't pay for once we trimmed it.
I agree with her 100%. I'm worried about this November just because I think the economy is so bad, but I think it could pass. And I think the two options are also the way to go. We really need the school, and we need to show why we need it and show all the numbers and the security. And I think we should bundle it like that and then have the option for everything else.
So just so I understand, option one you believe should be,
Security in the elementary school.
so the K.
But I think we should do a better job at it, talking about maybe keeping one of the elementaries, maybe ISD wants one. I don't know.
I agree with, I'd like to amend mine to say the 75 million of what he could do out of the original package. I mean, when Rick was
Right, or less,
talking
like
about
you said.
whatever he could do, to trim down the total package at 75 million, whatever he can't do to put in a second. And I would strongly advocate of usage of the buildings that we cannot use and coming up with a viable plan so that the community knows that those buildings could be utilized for something like a community center or Meals on Wheels or something like that.
So, I'm not sure you guys said the same thing.
Yes, we
No,
did.
we didn't.
We did.
No.
Two,
So-
two options. One is school and security. Second would be everything else.
No, we're not saying the same.
See, that's what I said. They're not saying the same
I'm
thing.
saying if he looks at the 75 million with TMP, whatever that is, maybe part of that's athletics, maybe part of it's, I don't know what it's gonna be.
Right,
When
whatever.
he trims down the
Yeah.
package, I don't wanna narrow it down to just the school and security. Obviously, the
No.
security
Number
is
one,
big.
there's two options. So number one is this new school and security. Then option number two would be
My voice
Athletics,
is 75 million with whatever he can do with football, whatever, whatever he can do with athletics, everything. Who knows? Maybe he can relook at those numbers and relook at the facilities.
okay.
I don't want to just denote it to be school and security. Security is obviously number one, but what could he do to trim down the 75 million? What can he do? What's the best that he could do for us in the district?
So both saying
get-
two,
to
both
get
saying
under.
two, both saying
Yeah.
two options,
We're kind of-
just different, just
yeah, we're
different
kinda
options.
saying
And
the
it's
same
okay.
thing, yeah.
I mean, but it
Similar.
is different.
Yeah.
Same
Pretty
strategy,
close.
but not the same ask.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
Next.
in the grand scheme of things, it will end up being the same ask based on the dollar amounts we've seen.
Probably.
And so, yeah, that's same November, the 75. And I suspect that will be the elementary and the security.
And maybe something else. Who knows?
You're right.
But those two.
I
were
mean,
the-
the only thing I think you could squeak in there might be an auditorium because they're paying half. But we'll
mean the
see. We'll
music.
see. Right. That's up to the
Yes.
facilities
Pray
committee.
for something.
A point of order.
Yeah.
Mr. Avataro, what are we actually voting on this evening?
We have to decide what we're going to task TMP with investigating and getting, starting to prepare the wording for the bond that we take to the state. We have to we have to set a direction for them to prepare for the July 6th meeting.
So when we give our opinion, as Mrs. Tomlin did, are we to say the vote date and then the specific items we would like to give direction on to TMP on?
The vote date and what you feel the ask should be for the community.
That won't be solid tonight because that's gonna be depending on money, because they gotta go back and.
So what we're really
I
voting
think
on is the date.
Well, the
And
date-
then
if
the
you're choosing-
separate discussion
Yeah.
If
is,
you're choosing to go in November, that's one of the items. And then the other choice is stay at 75 million or below,
Yeah.
or don't cut anything and ask for more money. Those are the two choices.
Well, that's not what the board members are saying. The board members are saying,
That's
one
what
of
I
the
was
board members is saying, vote for how much it costs for the building and security. That's one vote. And then the second vote is for the rest.
Yeah, two options.
Yeah,
Like
and
I
you're
brought
not
up.
saying it can't be 80 million.
No, I think the first one should be below 75 or no higher than 75, hopefully below. And the second one should be whatever it is.
Yeah, if to get everything else needs to be another
Yeah.
20 million, it'd be another
Right.
20 million, which is different than what I think Mary said for sure. And I'm
Well,
not
the
sure
mix-
exactly where you're at.
Not
The mix
exactly.
is all that's different. I mean, if we can do the school for 61 and we want to add security and then it's up to 68 and then we think, okay, that's good, we stop there, but we might want to add the
But
music.
she's
to it,
saying
I don't know.
she's saying we could go ask for 90 million. I'm exaggerating a little. Maybe it's 80. Okay,
In
whatever
two
the number is. In two proposals. You're saying don't exceed 75.
No,
No.
I'm saying 70, all right, thank you for helping me clarify. Maybe I wasn't as clear
No.
as I should be. I'm saying vote one, I'm obviously November. I didn't say that before. 75 million for the real need of what we absolutely have to have and trim down. But then I also want the second vote for the things that he can't pare down in the 75 million.
So it's basically the same thing.
No. And you're okay if the total ended up being 80.
Will there be two separate votes?
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yes.
Sorry, I appreciate you helping me clarify.
No, it's okay. I'm just trying to understand
Yeah, I
myself.
understand.
So, Becky?
Tony, I think we need some hard numbers first if we're gonna break that up. I'm all for the November vote, but if we're gonna break things up, we need to have clear,
Yep.
hard numbers.
True.
And if we gotta have another board meeting this week or early next week, then so be it. But I'm not prepared to vote on anything without a hard number. So
Well, we can vote on going back in November.
we can vote on that.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
But
And that
we,
will get-
but we need hard numbers before
Right. I
like
we know
that
what we're putting
suggestion.
on the
Right.
ballot in November.
I like
So-
that.
Yep.
And I think that the facilities committee can work with TMP to get those numbers.
That was my understanding.
And if we have to have a special board meeting to approve that,
Yep.
then we
Yep.
can do it.
I agree with that too. You sure wouldn't go for a loan if you didn't know exactly
Yeah.
what it was gonna
so
cost
Becky,
and what
you-
the money was gonna go for.
You start
November.
again. November, right.
75 million. And then if they want to do a second part for the rest, I don't have a problem.
The
with that.
75 million should include the,
It should include the elementary and the security. That is top
Minimum, yeah.
first. And like she says, if they can get more in there, but I don't think you're going to. That's up to somebody else to
okay.
decide.
I'll make my comments when it's my turn, okay? And then a second one for
I don't have a problem with that. For whatever.
rest or
else.
whatever. Okay.
The rest of the story.
Paul Harvey.
Yes, ma'am.
Lynn or Greg or
I like it.
Lynn,
I
one of
think
you,
it should be the facilities chair.
pardon me? Okay. Lynn,
Facilities chair do what?
go
Should be
next.
next.
I'll join the consensus of the board on a November vote. I agree with Mr. Simpson. I can't speak to what should be on the ballot until we see numbers in that. So I hope that this Wednesday TMP can come to the facilities committee meeting with a concrete proposal and not just a lot of discussion that we've received in previous meetings.
Could you say that if it was under 75 that you would
No.
be?
I want to see numbers and proposals first. All I can, and all we're voting on tonight is the date. So I go with the consensus of the board of November, but I want to see what the numbers are and what kind of packages we can put together based on what's deemed most important from the feedback we've heard from our constituency through many different channels as well as the survey. So I can't really with confidence say a number until I see that.
Yeah,
It
now,
may be
granted,
75.
they did give us the numbers of 47,000 for the school, and that was with a 25 to 30% padding. So if you had another 30% of that, I think we did the math here, and it was like 61. So we're under the 75 with the school with a 30% increase. So they're not putting exact numbers on here, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I understand, but I'd like to be able to study the information we already have and then hear from TMP on Wednesday before giving a judgment about numbers. But I will follow the consensus of the board on a November date.
Greg?
I agree with the November election. I think when we prioritize this, it has to be, we have to have the new building first because of the operational difference that we'll have, the offset. And that allows us to be sustainable, but we can't do it until they tell us a harder number, or if we can trim down some of the size. However we do that, maybe something we start with, we wanted, like he said, the 4-bedroom home, it may be a 3, but it still will be operationally a lot less expensive because in the facilities meeting, we've looked at the expense of maintaining the Herrick Park was built in 57, Patterson 53, and Acres in 58. So they're older than me.
Me too.
Wow.
That's something there.
Can you say that again?
Yes, Patterson was built in 53, Herrick Park 57, Tecumseh Acres 58, and Sutton in 70. So the only one that's younger than me, I remember when Sutton got built, was in 70. I think it started in 69, but opened in the fall of 70.
That's important.
But it's like they said tonight. I mean, these have not been poorly maintained. They're just old, and the older they get, the more that expense increases. We know that the water supply lines for the boiler, not drinking water, but the water supply lines for the boilers are aging, need to be replaced. They're encased in asbestos insulation, so that'll be an abatement. That will be really slow and expensive because you can't just come in there and suck it out and just open up a hole. There's a lot of things that add into that. They're not bad buildings. They're just like an old home. When you renovate, it's a lot more expensive than it is to build generally, and you get less years of service out of it. So when we build that new building, we can make it much safer. We can make the other 2 buildings safer. I think safety is number 2. I think when you saw John Zajac in here talking about the kids we've had that are athletes, why would we not support them? I think we have the money now to replace that carpet out of our money that we have right now, because that's how we should do it. We don't go out and take a loan to buy furniture. My couch took a dump, so I'm going to go buy a new couch and I'll just get a mortgage from the bank. We don't do that, and we shouldn't do it here. We should be more efficient than what we have been, and that's, I say we collectively, we're like Bill Swift said the other day, we're the ones that are holding the bag, but we didn't create this. We're just stuck with it. And we got to fix it, and that's what we're going to try and do. We come up with the best solution that we can for our staff, for our students, for our families, but it has to be the new building and then safety. And I hesitate to even say that because I don't want to try and, we talk about doom and gloom stuff. What happened in Uvalde and Oxford is not why we're saying this. It is, but it's not like it's.
Well, those schools were built when safety was
Right.
a problem, and now
Right.
they are.
Right, same thing with, we just didn't have this until Columbine in 99. I don't ever remember a school shooting, ever.
In preparation for the facilities committee meeting, Rick, do we think that we can receive those efficiency numbers as well? Because that's something that the board has requested multiple times, and we've never seen the hard number of how much money we will save for bus routes, how much money we could save for maintenance, how much money we could save for utilities. And then I think the ongoing discussion of one elementary school being the optimal design for the district as it sits today and will probably sit in the future versus where it's at kind of in the 50s and 60s. So all of those efficiencies, is that something that we're going to be able to see by Wednesday at the facilities committee, or should we be planning to have multiple meetings?
Yeah, if I can't have them for you by Wednesday, then we'll have to.
We'll talk about a date then.
extend that.
Okay, that's fine. But I think those the two things together, right, are important.
What we can say is we don't have to replace 4 boilers if we pass that, millage. We put in we put a boiler in that will probably be either 2 in series or 3 in series like they want to do here at the middle school. The efficiency on those goes from about 70% to over 90. So we save gas.
Right.
We won't save any money because the price of gas is going sky high.
But wouldn't we
we're-
also save with the solar because we would able
Yeah,
to put
that's
the
something we haven't
solar
talked
on the
about
roof immediately?
Okay. So, I'm gonna give my opinion first, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about what I've heard, okay? So, I am, definitely don't feel we should ever ask for more than 75 million. I would support, as if I understood the numbers, I'd like to see what the numbers are as well. I think a meeting next week's probably gonna happen, but I think there's really 3 things. Certainly the building, the safety, and I think we gotta think about safety in all the well, I mean, if we get the new elementary, the problems we have at Acres with safety, but certainly here at the high school, I mean, I've had some discussions with Rick about how other schools do it to keep, because you can come through that door and you can head right upstairs, right? We got to start funneling people, and I think if we don't take advantage of what the orchestra group is asking us, I think we're missing the boat a little bit here. So if I had to put today something in the number 1, I mean, if it means it's 80 million, then we'll have to, think about it more. But I'd like to think that it's just not, it's a $500,000, which is a lot of money, but I think that. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think I tend to, in principle, agree with what everybody said, but I do think we need more money. Now, talking about this, how to proceed. I mean, we've already voted that we want to go in November. The board has voted that once, so I don't know that we need to take action tonight to do that. We've said that. We said that the Monday after the.
Did we vote on it?
We did vote on it.
Oh.
Absolutely, we did. So we said that the Monday we voted to do that, right?
Yes, we
Well,
did.
now
We
that you
voted.
remind me, yeah, you're
Yeah, there
right,
was a
we
vote.
did.
Yeah.
But we never had a chance to clarify.
Well, we said
like
we're gonna,
tonight.
we said we're gonna go in November and we're gonna do the survey and we're gonna do everything we've done. So I don't know that we need a vote. If the board wants a vote, we'll vote, but I mean, it's gonna pass, but I don't know that we need that. But I would ask the facility committee to, meet on Wednesday, figure out where you're at. And, I think we're probably, looking at another special board meeting on Monday. Oh,
Could we do it later in the week? I'm out of town next week. I'll be back the 23rd.
I guess I would can we talk about that? Something we can talk about here,
Well,
right?
let's see what we're able to gather on Wednesday, because what might need to happen is maybe an additional facilities meeting and then a
Well,
board
I guess
meeting,
her
so-
only point is if we have a meeting next week, if we did it, you could attend the 23rd?
Yes, I'm back in town the 27th.
All right. That's a Thursday. Is there anybody that's a really bad day for? And that might give you a chance to have.
Looking at my calendar.
I understand.
I'm sure we
I
can
guess I
make it
would ask the board to get back to me and let me know. That would by chance give you to the facilities committee two Wednesdays to meet.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to come back on the 20th, it doesn't give Rick and TNP a lot of time. to
But
put
I would say
together any
that's
questions
about the
that come out.
latest. I mean, the 23rd is getting to be about.
So the next vote has to be specific about what's in the first one, what's in the
It
second
has to
one.
be,
with money
it has to
tied
be
it.
money wise.
Yeah, and money.
Money,
Because
not so
you know
much.
What you can get for your money.
I don't know, Rick, help me out.
The
It has to be
Lansing
money
meeting-
for sure. Does it have to say what we're
Yeah.
putting in there?
Well,
The language.
the
Yeah.
ballot language isn't
language.
gonna talk in terms of money. The ballot language is gonna talk in terms of
Millage.
millage. So we need to know how much money we're gonna ask in order for PFM to tell us, this is what the bond language needs to say. And the absolute latest that we can get that done is the 28th of June.
Because they go to Lansing on the 6th.
Because they go to
And-
Lansing on the 6th, and that's preceded by 4th of July weekend.
Is
and
5 days
nobody's
cutting
gonna
it
be
too
working.
close? Is the
So-
23rd okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
So-
23rd is fine.
The meeting in Lansing also has to include, in theory, right, the things that we are going to spend the money on, right?
Yeah,
Because that's
yeah.
how they judge if they'll back it or not.
They're gonna ask questions in that meeting like, okay, you went out the first time and you didn't get passed. What are you doing differently this time? And by then we will have those questions figured out, the answers to those questions figured out. And they won't ask, strategy questions or marketing, they'll ask program questions.
Okay, so what I heard the board say, it's come to the agreement that we're gonna turn this over to the facilities committee to get some numbers put together, and then we'll get back together next week, hopefully the end of next week, and we'll make some real decisions on the direction we're gonna take. So at this point, I guess I'm saying we're gonna table it based on that strategy.
Well, our motion was just regarding the election date, so do we need a motion to remove that from the agenda?
I don't remember.
That
having a
action?
motion.
That's right there.
When there's an action item, just by not taking action on it,
Okay.
you're fine. You don't have to.
Just want to
remove
make sure we're.
Okay. All right, we good? We're gonna table this discussion. Thank you all for, again, very open, honest, and constructive discussion. All right, tax rate request.
This is
my name, but I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
explain
this
it.
is one of those annual things that the board has to do. We have to request the L4029, and you have the language document setting the millage. And this one, is it exactly 3.6?
Yep.
Okay, so that's what we're asking to be levied for debt retirement, which is half of the 7.2 that was.
But this has already been voted on by the public, and we have to take action on this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
every
you
year.
have to, at the next meeting, you'll have to pass it, but this is the,
First reading.
that's what we're saying the school district is going to levy for debt retirement.
So 17.8 operating. The one at the bottom, the 2.463, that's the pool operation, right?
Yeah, these are, I believe, right, these are the existing
Yes.
millages.
So there's two operating, just over 18, 18.3, 3.6, which is the, what's left on the debt for this school and the others. And then the 2.4 is the pool operating that just, we just voted on May. Okay. Any other questions about that? This is something that we've had, Greg, I know you've asked for that several times. We got it. All right. K&B asphalt quote.
Yeah, these are, the next two are a couple of quotes for repairs. This is not replacement of a full driveway. This is just the middle school bus loop off of Maumee. And then on the high school item, it's the south drive coming off of the boulevard up to the second curve. So just before the hitting barn and the soccer field. We've got a large amount of cold patch in those holes. It's the lowest area of the drive, so it gets a lot of freeze and thaw, and it's going to have to be repaired. So 3 quotes were brought forth to the budget committee and recommendations by Mr. Hawkins for the bid, and then brought forward here to be acted on.
So is Mr. Hawkins or the budget committee recommending we go with a low bidder?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, okay. And again, these are just for information purposes here. We'll vote on them. It's okay to vote on them in 2 weeks.
They'll be,
I think the Dookie points were lowest bid and local.
Right.
If I remember correctly from the
Yeah,
discussion.
they worked out nicely that way.
Yes. We like it when that.
And it's not a total replacement, it's a mill,
Yeah, they're taking 2 inches off and
Right.
putting 2 inches back on, right?
which is better anyway.
Inch and a half back then.
Well, I think it scrunches down to,
Yeah,
it starts
it's
at
a
2 and
better
they roll it
base.
to 1 and
So,
a half.
and it's, instead of taking it all out and having to put in a base, so.
On a lot of country
Yeah,
roads these
and
days.
they'll fill some of the larger holes.
All right. Any other questions for anyone on those 2 items? All right, we'll We'll vote on those next time. Academic calendar.
Yeah, was that in your original packet?
It was.
Okay, good. Yeah. Finally, got that figured out. There was a little discrepancy between our number and the TEA number. But after some conversation and email work by Veronica, we are confident of the right number of days and hours. So it's already been up for discussion one time. This is the revised version, so we have it on as action as well. So that families can begin to plan their academic year for next year.
All right, so I see we're going with 2 weeks at winter break.
We are.
And is that the norm in the county, or are we kind of deviating from the county?
It is, deviation is the norm. There are several districts who are deviating from the county calendar, and in fact, county superintendents are considering revising the county calendar as a result of that. But
More schools want to take 2 weeks of Christmas?
yes.
Like who? Us? Like us? Okay. Well,
Madison,
he said there's others, so.
I know Madison and Sand
Why
Creek,
wouldn't we?
Okay.
and
I like it.
I believe Hudson is another
Okay, good.
district. Clinton
Yeah.
is
Oh, quite a
extending
few.
theirs.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and when you've got parents that are separated and you've got, kid 1 week,
Yeah.
and that, yeah,
Good
no.
point.
It,
1 week.
when
here,
they
1 week
started
there.
cutting that back, that was ridiculous.
So they're saying the last day of school will be the
I believe it's the
8th of
16th.
8th of June?
Oh, last day of school. I was thinking
Sorry.
before Christmas break.
Yeah.
Yes.
Half day.
Say, whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah.
You just gave about 500 teachers now. A heart attack. June 16th.
Which is a little late, which is a little later than this year, right?
Two existing
Yeah.
parents.
Not
Yeah, we
bad
were
though.
2 days
June 8th
later.
is reasonable.
2 days later. So, not that much longer.
So the major changes are taking that full week at Christmas, and then our spring break is moving up more into Washtenaw
Moves
County
up
land, right?
to the last week in March instead of
Okay.
the first week in April. Sorry, timeshare owners, but we'll have to make
Well,
an
the benefit
adjustment.
there is you have more time before the state test too.
Exactly, yeah, it does, the reason for the adjustment has to do with the timing now.
Of the SAT.
They butted up to each other uncomfortably, so it does give us a little.
And that's
I mean, you don't
something
wanna
the
come
entire,
back from break and then do the SAT in 2 days.
and
Never good.
the entire county has moved
Yeah,
that,
that's a
right?
good point.
That is also a change in the county calendar. We've moved to the last week of March for spring break for the foreseeable future.
I like it.
So
It
the
does.
numbers work and everybody seems to be happy with it. And it's probably my fault because I did it last December, but we needed the break.
We did.
Yeah, and we'll have to discuss that when we come to the board calendar. That Monday of spring break is a normal board meeting day, so we'll have to adjust things because we won't want to do that. But that's something that we'll discuss in July, right?
Right.
Okay.
Just kind of FYI for everybody, start thinking that we'll need to adjust.
Well, yeah, we'll set the calendar at the organizational meeting, which is the 27th of this month.
Next,
We'll-
but anyways, that
we'll
Monday
have
of
a-
spring break is a normal
Sure.
board, so we'll have to move things around. And I have some ideas, but we'll talk about those next. All right? Any other questions or comments on that?
Yeah. I noticed that the graduation is on a Sunday,
Oh, yeah, good discussion.
and I would like it to move on a Friday evening to be
Okay.
outside.
I like that idea.
So we don't have to limit tickets for parents and relatives and so forth. And then maybe have another date, Saturday evening if it rains or something, so.
A rain date.
Yep.
Also,
So,
people can
rather-
see the condition of our turf.
We're gonna have new turf by then.
Rather than,
We're gonna pass the bond by then.
set that specifically because graduation is a function of the high school and the high school administration. But I think that if you can pass this calendar with the recommendation of the change for graduation, then I'll see that gets taken care of.
I would like to say past,
Strong
there has been Friday graduations in the past. I know
Yes.
one of my children graduated on a Friday of Memorial Day weekend, so I don't think it's an uncommon thing to have Friday graduation, and I think it's kinder to our community as well as making sure that all parents can come. You mentioned divorced parents. This was a small class and they got how many tickets? You have a
Five.
larger class that reduces,
Yeah.
and having been in that situation myself, you know, I mean, we didn't have to count for me as a ticket, but that is not a good place to be, and that's irresponsible of our community to have reducing the tickets that low.
We had option of 5. Of course, they would make extras available. Obviously, I didn't need a ticket either, but we still utilize 14 tickets for our family.
We have a long-standing tradition of having outside if at all possible.
Yeah, you know, I think my
And for
son
30
graduated
plus
outside,
years,
98
it
or-
never rained on graduation Sunday. I don't know how that happened, but it worked.
Knock
We'll-
on
we'll
wood,
make it
Mary.
work.
It
And we
worked.
can-
Clinton did Friday this year.
I think that, sounds like the board is will be in
Britain did it
support of
too.
that.
Yeah, I'll add it to the motion.
Okay, with the recommendation, so good. Anybody else on the calendar? I mean, it's
Good
10 to
one,
9,
Tim.
and
Good
there's
job.
thunderstorms out there. All right,
I thought I heard something.
yeah. It's-
And I don't have an umbrella.
well, you're gonna be wet.
It's gonna go under your arm. You can get wet.
Sure now.
I'm gonna be out of here fairly quickly.
All right,
You said that earlier.
donations. The Tecumseh School Foundation has issued us a grant for $1,357. Can, this is for the, oh, here she
She's
is.
coming forth. Yes.
You can explain that to me, that's awesome.
Stay back there. So I'm Amanda Spahn. I teach the PLTW STEM class at Tecumseh Acres.
TLC,
Project Lead the Way.
Project Lead the Way, yeah. We
Okay.
call it
Oh,
STEM
Project
because it fits with
PLC.
the acronym, so that's why it's a
Yeah.
S. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for allowing us to teach this class. It's been amazing. I mean, the kids are super engaged. The families are phenomenal. They've donated so many items to my classroom already. They're very responsive to anything I ask for. It comes in the next day. I do the drop-off loop in the mornings, and I am always coming in with bags of items that the kids bring in and the parents send in. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to teach this, not just to other students, but even my own kids who are now able to take part in this. So anyways, Megan has been really gracious in the budget, and we've really had to go through a big learning curve on how to order the supplies through PLTW. It's pretty tricky at first to figure out just how they operate. But as I was looking at the modules, there was this one that was really amazing. It's structure and function of the human body. But to be good stewards of our money, it was out of reach. What you do is you buy a durable kit, which is the expensive portion, and that portion can be reused every year. And then you just buy the refill materials, which is they're pretty economical. But this one module was just outside of being a good steward, really. So what the kids do in this module is they all start with this fictional story with these children who have a problem. They love it. And this one, Angelina breaks her arm on the playground, which happens in real life. And so what they do is they learn the structure and function of lots of organs and different parts of the body. And as they learn these basic skills, then they kind of start exploring. You give them some close-ended projects that they do so they can be really successful. And then they end up constructing a skeleton. They might make a model of an x-ray. And then at the end, once they have all this knowledge and skills, and I've seen them do this so many times already, they get to design a new cast for this fictional character. And so that's what they're going to be able to do with this grant. And we were able to order enough supplies so that we can do it at both Acres and Sutton. So that will be about 300 young fives and kindergartners that get to do that module. And usually what happens is even though it seems like it's for kindergartners, the first and second graders come in and they say, whoa, like what is going on in here? And then they want to do it too. So, so the durable kit we were able to buy can service us for many, many years. And now we can afford the refill kits. So, so this grant is allowing us to reuse this project many, many times over. So very thankful to Tecumseh Schools Foundation for awarding this grant to us.
for your refills, you might consider applying for a Kiwanis for your other things, you know, your less expensive things. They have a yearly grant.
So we're working really hard. Megan is able to use some of the career money for some of the things we need. We've got lots of spreadsheets, all the dollars, all the things are accounted for, and we're sharing as much as we can and learning as much as we can to make it so we don't always have to order from that company. There's some items that I can pick up in the summertime or collect in my own house, which we do all the time. So.
Thanks for the explanation. It's exactly what I was gonna ask.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I guess we'll move on. Any other
Trips.
All right, trips. Rick?
Yeah, you have added to your packet now the request for 4 different trips. One is wrestling to St. Ignace. It's coming up next week.
This week.
Yeah, the 15th this week. We've got trip to Big Rapids for what's the swim team.
When are they going?
Big Rapids.
No, when?
7/24. So July 24th. Then you
Girls
have
basketball.
Basketball, June 25th to the 28th. And Pokagon State Park for, I'm guessing that
Cross-country.
is cross-country, yes,
Do you
in
Oh, no,
August.
that's fine. I'm okay with all the
There's a
trips. I guess I'm
soccer
just
one in
wondering
there
why
too,
we're
isn't
down
there?
so late.
We got
We
a
got
fifth
one
one?
in 2 days.
There's a soccer one in there somewhere.
At the end.
But trips are good. They're all good.
Oh, that's the Trout Creek
Harbor Springs.
Harbor Springs in
I wanna go
August.
there.
So, yeah,
Saying.
the coaches sent those in a little bit at a time, but just finished getting them done. So there they are. We talked today about possibly going to, because many of these trips reoccur. So maybe talking to the policy committee about economizing this process so that there's just a general language for reoccurring trips.
Yeah.
That we approve once a year and move forward. But
Yeah, 'cause we would never not approve them. I mean,
not usually, but new trips, we would go with the full process with reoccurring.
So are all
trips.
these recurring?
Maybe your
The ones that we have for you tonight are trips that have been approved in the past.
Okay. Any questions? All right, we're gonna move on. The first thing we're gonna vote, I guess, action items, the bond election date, we decided, we've tabled that, so there's nothing there, and we did vote on it. MASB, we discussed it at the last meeting. Lynn?
I have a point of clarification before we go through all these.
Okay,
How
yeah.
long are we voting for the transportation contract?
Pardon me?
What is the length of the transportation contract that's in the motions?
I think the
That was 3
recommendation
years.
was a 3-year.
Yeah, I have it here. Hold on.
About 4 pages.
Yeah,
And
that
then
was from
there's,
the budget committee, it's
uh,
3 years.
3 years.
optional for year 4 and 5,
I'd
correct,
say
Ben?
it's great.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Hey, we can check out the roof's condition right now.
Yeah, we're gonna speak up. So yeah, it's 3 years of option for 4th and 5th on the transportation.
Are we voting
It's a
just for
clause.
3 years with option, or are we adding the option? in?
This doesn't look good.
Pardon me?
I got it. I got it. Okay.
it's 3?
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right.
I hereby move to approve the MASB 2022 to 2023 membership renewal as discussed at the May 23rd, 2022 regular board meeting.
Second.
We moved to second to approve the MASB membership. Does anybody have any comments? Roll call vote. Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Contract is approved.
Transportation contract.
Yeah.
I hereby move to approve the transportation contract for 3 years with a future option in year 4 and 5 as presented by first student and discussed at the regular May 23rd, 2022 board meeting.
What was the future thing?
With a future option in years 4 and 5. We would have to vote on the future option in year 4 and 5, but the contract.
So we're voting
will
for
stay
3
valid.
years.
Second.
So moved and seconded to accept a 3-year contract with the option to vote for a 4th and 5th year. Any other questions on this? Roll call vote. Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Trustee Moore.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Sorry, Mary. It's getting late. 9 o'clock. Right.
I hereby move to approve the lawn care and snow removal contract as presented by F&S Landscaping and discussed at the regular May 23rd, 2022 board meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the lawn care and snow removal contract from F&S Landscaping. Any questions or clarifications? Roll call vote. Trustee Moore.
Aye.
Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Contract is approved.
I hereby move to approve the 2022 to 2023 academic year calendar with the recommendation to discuss moving the graduation date to Friday evening as presented and discussed during this evening's meeting.
Second.
We moved and seconded to accept the academic calendar with a suggestion for a Friday night graduation. Any other discussion or points of clarification? Roll call vote. Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Moore.
Aye.
Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Academic calendar is approved.
I hereby move to accept with thanks the donation given to Tecumseh Schools, specifically Tecumseh Acres and Hernandez Bond, in the amount of $1,357 from the Tecumseh Schools Foundation to help fund the Structure and Function Human Body Project for young fives and kindergarten.
Support.
We moved and seconded to accept a donation from the Tecumseh School Foundation for the Project Lead the Way. Any questions or clarifications? Roll call vote. Trustee Tomlin.
Aye.
Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Trustee Moore.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. With thanks to the Tecumseh Schools Foundation. Overnight trips.
Oh, yes. I hereby move to approve the 5 overnight trips as presented to the board this evening.
Second.
So moved and seconded to approve the overnight trips as presented to the board this evening. Any other questions or points of clarification? Roll call vote. Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Moore.
Aye.
Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The overnight trips are approved. I think that's all the action items. We'll move on
Did you do consent?
to the consent agenda.
We do it with the consent agenda. So I hereby move to approve the consent agenda, which includes the following items. The minutes from the regular board meeting of May 23rd, 2022.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Roll call vote. Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin.
Aye.
Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Trustee Moore. Trustee Moore.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The consent agenda is approved.
My husband never
She was
texted
delayed
me, texted me, and I'm
because of
like,
the
what's wrong?
Right.
Something must be wrong.
So he's trying to tell you it's raining.
He did.
All right.
It's raining, get home, he says.
Superintendent's report.
It's possible that maybe one or more board member were going to comment on this anyway, but we had an event on Tuesday last week where members of the board and the administration, and I know more of you wanted to be there, but scheduling wise couldn't make it work. But really a great turnout from the staff for a year-end cookout. They very much appreciated what the board did for them on that day. It was, I think, a very good way to finish a year that was very challenging for most of the employees, at least at one time or another. So I wanted to say thank you to the board members who were able to be there. Those who weren't, hopefully maybe thinking terms of next year where you might be able to help out with that, so we can do it again. We were able to honor our retirees, and in one case, a resignation from a longtime employee who's moving on to something else. But it was a lot of fun and very rewarding, not only for those who served, but also those who participated. So thank you for doing that.
Are we gonna do it again at the beginning of the year?
It's a possibility we could do something at the beginning of the year. Maybe I
So
don't
much
want
fun, I
to
wanna do it
replicate it.
twice.
What I
think
don't
Greg
want to
can
do
make
is,
pancakes.
I don't want to do it exactly the same way, but
Deals,
maybe
Blackstones, that's for
a breakfast version of the same thing
I
for
can make
opening
cinnamon
day
rolls.
might be a fun way to do that.
You don't have to wait to the new school year to make cinnamon rolls.
You can
All right.
visit Macon
But
Grocery.
yeah, it was really great. I mean,
It was fun.
all right, I'm gonna keep this thing moving along. All right.
Slow down.
Why?
Yeah,
We're
in
in
the
the
pink
say
right
it's
now.
rain till 10.
Slow
Sorry.
down.
All right, items scheduled for next agenda. We will have good news. We will have discussion items. We will have the voting on the tax rate request, the proposals from KMB, the policy update. Please take some time and review that. If you don't know how to, those are upline. We can get them online now, right? So if you're not clear on that, I'm sure Veronica would help us on that. And we will, next meeting is will be the organizational meeting, right?
Yes. And the
So,
budget
yeah.
hearing
No, organization meetings in July.
in July is the organizational. Okay,
That's
Next
what I
week,
thought.
we'll set the date for the organizational meeting.
thank you. Yes.
Oh my.
Yeah, which will be,
You knew that, you already said.
yeah, well, he said he's gonna move it, but it won't be normal, so. All right, public comment. Any public comment at all? We wanted
It's
to brace
raining.
the weather. Board member comments.
I have one.
Mary.
I have attended over 30 plus years of graduation, and I would like to compliment Rick on what he did and the students. And I thought the whole overall graduation, the speeches, the conduct, everything was exceptional. And one thing that really struck me in speaking with the kids ahead of time, everybody had a plan of what they were going to do after graduation. I did not run into one student who did not have a concrete plan, whether it be the military, a career, college, gap, which is significant as well. I felt like, wow, they graduated, they knew what they were doing, they gave speeches that we could be proud of. And I just want to compliment that class. They've been through a lot, as they mentioned in their speeches and their change, but their resiliency and their professionalism came through.
Agreed. Anybody else? I have two things. Again, I want to just second the comment that Rick made about the year-end cookout. I know that some of you went the extra mile and made chili or salad, even though they couldn't be there, and I know that was appreciated. And Greg and I had the easy job. We just rolled them hot dogs on the thing. So luckily, it wasn't too hot. So
Right,
we
Tom Moore got voluntold.
Yeah, yeah. Special thanks to Mr. Moore. That's right. And the second thing is, again, Mr. Zajac, thanks. Please pass on my personal thanks to the coaches and the staff. I mean, I really think that
Our
was a good year.
personal thanks.
Yeah. I'm speaking for me.
I
So,
know.
but yeah. But I at this point, I'm sure many agree. But please pass that on. It doesn't go unnoticed. All right. Anybody else? All right. At this moment, we are going to adjourn to closed session. So I think, are we just going to stay here?
Yes.
So we can probably excuse everyone else.
You can go home now.
Yeah, you can go home.
Thursday at noon, I will not change it again, and I will have food. Okay.
Thank you everyone
Wherever
for
you
hanging
choose
with
to
us.
have us at, you are in
And
charge.
sounds like it's letting up a little bit.
Good luck.
Maybe like 10.
Go fast, it's letting up. Are you off and All right, we are now out of closed session. There's no action to be taken as part of that meeting, so I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved. Who
Support.
seconded?
We both. Yeah.
Okay, moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Brett, say
opposed,
aye.
same
Aye.
sign.
Don't make that so hard. Dang it, Tony.